WP-Tonic Wednesday show. We've got a great guest for this show. We've got Nat Wright of Small Biz Triage joining us, and he's going to be discussing all things email. Then we're going on to discuss how to produce great content for your online course or learning management system. And then finally, we're going to be talking about forms. So it's going to be a packed-filled episode here. I'm going to let Nat introduce himself quickly. Introduce yourself to the audience, Nat.
Hey, I'm Nate. Founder of Small Biz Triage, founded it 9 years ago. This year, we took a huge step into the email marketing training space with a brand called Inbox Attack. Trying to shake things up a bit with it. We'll see how it goes this year.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Yeah. And I've got my great co-host, keeps me under control. That's Kim. Like to introduce yourself, Kim?
Absolutely. I'm Kim Shivler. I am a speaker communications strategist and instructional design consultant. You can find me here at the WP-Tonic podcast, taking care of Jonathan.
Oh, thank you, Kim. And I'm the founder of WP-Tonic. We're a support maintenance company specializing only in WordPress with an emphasis on membership and learning management system web-powered websites. And before we go into the interview, I'd like to just do a plug for our major sponsor, which is Kinsta Hosting. And Kinsta Hosting are a boutique WordPress-only hosting provider, manage WordPress hosting. They are big enough to give you all the bells and whistles if you're a developer, staging sites, statistics, Google platform, the works. Basically, if you're a client, super quick websites, web page loading. They are a fantastic partner. We use them for the WP-Tonic website, and some of our clients they're big enough, like to say, to have all the technology, but still small enough to really care about their clients, and their support is fantastic. And we're really very appreciative of their support of the show. And if you like to show that, give them a Twitter or go to the WP-Tonic website. And there's banners and links on the website. They are affiliate links, and you'll be supporting the show if you use those for your own hosting or for your client's hosting. Back to the show. Nat, so email marketing in 2018, where are people going wrong? You know, can you give a brief outline of what you think works now in email marketing, and maybe a brief outline where people are doing the wrong thing?
All right, I'll rattle them off. We'll start with the wrong. Automating too early and too often. I would say every day I get 2 to 3 requests from small to medium-sized businesses saying, I want a drip campaign. And I ask them, all right, so how are your emails doing now? Do people open the first email? And crickets. So typically people are trying to make it too easy on themselves, and tend to end up with very generic content that way. So we encourage most people to do it slowly and do it manually in the beginning, and then learn it. And then once they figure out what works and what doesn't work, then you get automate it, but not the other way around. Second thing is using a newsletter platform for B2B sales. So for example, we have had a lot of WordPress developers, online training programs, coaches, speakers. I was like, hey, I want to get more gigs. I want to get more clients. I'm going to take this cold email list, whether it's scraped or pulled out of their Outlook contacts, and they blast them with MailChimp or Constant Contact. And it's, from a long list of reasons, is not effective. So typically doing it manually or with a G Suite extension, such as Mailshake is one of our favorites right now. We love Mailshake. And so using that for the B2B.
And I apologize to interrupt, but what's milkshake? Did you say milkshake?
No, it's a Mailshake.
Mailshake.
Mailshake. Mailshake for B2B is I would say the best on the market by a long shot. We get deliverability 80, 90%, open rates, crazy click rates. It's not meant as a newsletter tool. That's not meant for nurturing or informing or for automations, really. It is really, really good to get somebody on the phone and bring in new clients. So we like MailChimp on the newsletter side, Mailshake on the B2B side, cold emails.
And what's so great about Mailshake?
Deliverability. It just piggybacks off of Gmail servers, and it's cheap, $19 a month, and its deliverability is really good. They know how to navigate the caps that Gmail has in place for sending. It's just a much better platform for cold email. There's a lot of competitors out there, but we've used pretty much all of them, and that's the one that's at the top of the stack right now.
Yeah, the two main platforms I utilize is SendGrid and ActiveCampaign. They're the two main technologies when it comes to email marketing I utilize myself. So I totally agree with you there. So so basically what you're saying is the main thing is don't get some list that you haven't got any kind of really close relationship with and start blasting emails to them.
Yeah, and it's best practice, but people still do it, and it's not rooted in in tactical or strategic issues. It's just people are in a rush. And in my experience, small batches when you're doing sales emails are way better.
All right.
Are way, way better. That's how I reached you, actually. It was a Mailshake campaign.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
Oh, right.
It looked really personalized, though, didn't it? I would hope it. Yeah. So it's and it was personalized because we actually went through the entire list of people we wanted to reach out to and pre-wrote actual personalized blurbs for every single one of them. So it took a couple extra hours of work on the front end, but it pays off so much.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about there is customization, aren't you? And list targeting, because and segmenting your list structure.
Yes.
Would you agree and give some detail why what we're talking about basically there? Yeah,
it's any opportunity you could have to personalize any part of an email, you need to take it. Some of my favorite tags to use is I'll use the company name and a subject line. And you see that used often, but people will get lazy, and I'll say, hey, I've got a great plugin or theme that would work really great for, ABC Plumbing LLC Unlimited. So we'll actually go through the original source spreadsheet and make them human friendly and say, oh yeah, it'll work for ABC Plumbing. I would also say that first names, this is one of the things that's new, 2018 new. Personalizing emails with the first name, I have not seen conclusive results, and we send thousands of campaigns. I have not seen conclusive results that using the first name as a personalization tag improves or doesn't improve emails. It's a cultural thing too. Certain industry segments are more, they're okay with it, and others aren't.
That's great. Kim, got any questions?
I do, and I just wanted to clarify because I think this is what I heard. So, for example, the Mailshake, you're particularly talking about the power of it with cold emails.
Yeah.
So not where, so I'm a communications instructor, but I'm almost all B2B. But once they've taken a class with me, they usually do want my ongoing information that I send to them to tweak what I just taught them.
Yep.
So that I would still use my newsletter platform.
Absolutely.
As opposed to Mailshake.
Yeah, because at that point, it's opt-in, and most of the good cold email platforms aren't good at list management, and they're not as visual or text-based. The good ones it's just all text.
Yeah.
So that's the stack we usually use. At the end of the day, we use them in conjunction with each other. So depending upon what it is.
Thank you for that. That's what I thought I was hearing, and I'm taking notes, and I want to make sure I'm doing it right. So I really appreciated that, because I haven't looked at Mailshake either. I've just been using my newsletter platform, but it's only after they've met. I actually meet most people in face initially, which, face to face, I tend to still be old fashioned, which is why I love your tagline of unapologetically human.
Mm-hmm.
So other than these two automation tools, what are some other things you would recommend we do to be unapologetically human online?
Write like you talk.
Yeah.
If you read an email out loud and you find yourself biting down on the words, or it feels like there's a sour piece of candy in your mouth trying to say it, you need to change the wording. It needs to sound like something you would say in person. So if your name is in the from block of that email and you read it out loud and it doesn't sound like you would say it to someone in real life, then you need to fix it. Another thing is call to action in an email. I mean, it's one of those things it's talked about in all areas of marketing. My favorite call to action is hit reply. So people will say, I'm sending out 30,000 emails. I don't want to get all those replies. And I was like, really? So it's just hit reply. Those conversations, they're going to teach you more about your customers and clients and your future customers than any survey or any analytics ever will. The conversations teach you faster. The other thing I would say is phones still work. Handwritten thank you cards. There's a company in the UK actually that does marketing for bigger businesses, and part of their sales funnel is a handwritten, really nice card. And the conversion rates on that is just crazy high. Crazy high. So with all the technology in the world, if you really want that person to be your customer or stay your customer, handwritten card, phone calls, in-person meetings if they're local.
Yeah, my thank you cards are right there. And I love what you said about the hit reply, because there's nothing to me that seems more impersonal than when you get that email and it says, do not reply to this, because it's that, at no reply.
Oh, I hate
right?
that.
Like, oh, so why do I think you're real? You're obviously not that interested in me if you're sending me an at no reply, in my view.
Yep.
So, Jonathan?
Yeah, so what is a really positive thing somebody could do about their email marketing in 2018?
If I was to pick one thing, is put in a lot of repetition of sending out smaller segment emails. So, for example, you push out a newsletter and you have, a certain amount of people click on a certain link in a campaign, and most newsletter platforms could track that. And say it's something about like an LMS plugin, right? So that little segment may only be like 23 people, but it is worth writing an email for those 23 people to specifically say, oh, I see you're interested in an LMS program. That's like super creepy. But just say, hey, I want to give you a bit more about this. I want to tell you a little more. Or, so that's one thing. I'm going to slip one more in there. So I kind of have to. Practice being less self-centered. If there's ways of bringing in other voices, I'm a huge fan of cross-promotion. Huge fan of cross-promotion. So it's one of the, it doesn't even have to be paid, but just sharing with people, this is, Tim Ferriss does it. There's a lot of other people that said, this is the stuff that I love right now. And using that platform you have, that voice, to spread the love around a little bit, enrich the ecosystem.
Oh, that's great. Thanks so much. We're going to go for our break, folks. We'll be back in a few moments, and then we'll be talking about learning management system, course, membership websites, and building the content that's so necessary to make that a success. We'll be back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back. We've had a great discussion. Kim's kept me under control. So there we are, kept me on topic. I haven't asked multiple questions. Thanks so much for those insights, Nat, about email marketing. I wanted to give to the listeners some, and you've provided some excellent advice there, some really little tidbits that they can really think about. And I think we've done that. Let's go on to course development. You know, you've said that you've had a lot of experience helping clients with their learning management systems and the need to develop strategy and course. Got any insights what you've learned from helping clients over the past few years with that?
Yeah, sure. Video length has been a hot topic. And my rule of thumb with that is pretty simple. I hear the question a lot, how long should the videos be? And I was like, well, ask your students how long they're going to be able to pay attention. Because oftentimes it's so, the subject matter, it's such a fuzzy equation. It's like calculus trying to figure out people's attention spans on certain subject matter. Like I imagine the length of your podcast, a lot of work and testing went in to figure out what the right length of the podcast is, right? My podcasts are way too long and I don't have a lot of subscribers to it for that very reason. And so that's one thing is just to ask on the length. From a technical perspective, now that bandwidth and technology has, I think, caught up, you know, live training has a lot of value. I mean, one of the things that I learned, and it was quite accidental, a few years ago, I was doing a webinar series for the Arts Alliance up in Portland, Oregon. And they, just on the fly, I was like, hey, let's do like a live rewrite. Let's do something live. And I was given an email template to rewrite live. And there's nothing more effective to drawing people to me. So when you're advertising a course or a workshop, being able to flex your muscles live where it's unedited and show this is how good I really am is important. Granted, the first time I did it, I wasn't that awesome. I had to get some more practice. But that tactic, if you have the opportunity to work stuff up in a live setting and use that as a promotional material, really, really effective. Really effective.
Oh, that's so great. Kim, got some questions?
Absolutely. I did want to ask, just for clarification for them, what you were doing when you were doing it live was copywriting, correct?
Yes.
Because you also are a copywriter. Yeah,
I say in my company, we're all copywriters first, nerds second. We try to keep that part of ourselves closeted, but I would say it's half and half behind the scenes. Yeah.
So when you're teaching people this, when you're creating your own courses around the email, etc., how critical is it that you're helping them also master that copywriting piece so that they are, you know, getting the right thing out to their email customers?
I would say there's three things. One, being platform agnostic. So oftentimes people try to shape their writing and their messaging based on the limitations of a platform. And I think that if you're training something that isn't particularly, if you're training Photoshop, right, you need to stay in the Photoshop zone. But if you're teaching something fuzzier like marketing or development, making it platform agnostic is much more helpful, I've found. As I said, there's always exceptions. The second thing would be the use of frameworks. Oftentimes people get stuck on you know, I'm, you know, follow X persons. I'm drinking this flavor of Kool-Aid right now, but actually including other frameworks. Like we've used frameworks that screenwriters use. Talking about things like value change, how to create contrast in writing. That's something that we learned from screenwriting. So we'll pull that in, and oftentimes we'll pull in guest trainers to help teach that, to give them that different perspective. Because oftentimes we will teach maybe 5 or 6 different frameworks for writing an email, because one of them will work. But it's important for them just to, that, and the final thing is repetition. Just putting in reps. You can't get around it. Of course, that's tough. It's like, hey, everyone wants a shortcut. But if they really, really want to learn it, they need to do like the boot camp course and then do the daily stuff and the weekly stuff. They need to actually continue putting in reps. So if you structure the opportunity to put in reps into coursework, it's going to be a lot stickier. And I imagine it with your background, you probably understand that, how to explain that better than I do.
No, that's absolutely it. Repetition and doing it repeatedly is absolutely how we learn and how we master. Takes a long time to actually master it. So being that you do that, do you then offer with your students possibilities or options for ongoing coaching as opposed to just, here's a course, you're out the door?
Coaching is our primary. And I said this year we launched Inbox Attack as a way to kind of merge together a coaching style environment with the repetitions, with the cross training, all the elements. And we're launching next week. We'll see how it goes. And what do they say? No plan survives first contact with the enemy, right? I'm not sure. I know that structurally that's worked. We're hired guns mostly. I've been a hired gun for tons of companies teaching and training. And this is our first foray into actually throwing me on the stage and seeing how it goes. So we'll see. But I would have to say the coaching aspect is nice, but it's not as scalable. And that's what's happening is I'm packed with coaching clients. And a lot of times those coaching relationships almost slip into like therapy. Like, let's do some business counseling here. Because oftentimes the issue isn't that they don't know the material. It's that they're afraid of actually publishing or practicing it in public.
I think that's fantastic. Oh, sorry, I interrupted there, Kim. My apologies.
No, it's okay. I was just agreeing with him on that. I was going to hand it back to you, John.
Oh, thanks. So what's the technology that you use to build your course, which you're launching next week?
Oh, geez. WordPress all the way for the website. Yeah, no, I've built, I think, about 150 WordPress sites and hire it out when I can. I do it myself if I'm in a rush. Because I know, like any good developers, I need this done tomorrow. I'd be like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not putting my name on that. And we're going to be using Zoom for the actual live coaching sessions. Facebook closed group and a LinkedIn closed group for conversational elements. So it's pretty standard stuff there. We are, after we get, once again, repetitions, right? Practice what we preach. I would say once we get about 8 weeks into it, we're going to look at, and this is something I haven't figured out yet, is managing the videos behind a login. So they can log in to access that stuff. I've used so many different plugin stacks and theme frameworks and actual, non-WordPress options in the past, and frankly, I haven't liked any of them that much.
So are you using a WordPress learning management system plugin like Lift It LMS or LearnDash?
LearnDash is actually the top of our list right now as the one that will actually roll out. I don't have any direct experience with it yet, but what it integrates with and then styling and stuff, actually, like I know I'm maybe speaking sacrilege, but I'm a huge fan of elegant themes and the Divi framework, even though it was like, oh, you'll never get a good load time with that. And that's true. I've tried. I can't really get a good load time with it. But LearnDash is at the top of the list. We're also looking at...
Oh, you definitely want to look at Lift It LMS as well, but they're very
is it good?
Different. Yeah, they're different products, aren't they, Kim? Really,
very different. I teach both of them. They're very different, and it depends on exactly what you need. But they're both very good. They both also have an option, depending on which of their add-ons you go with, of private coaching areas.
Oh, that's cool.
Where you can actually have a private page for a coaching student that's just the two of you, which is really pretty powerful stuff.
Built it in the same platform. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been avoiding it because all the ones that I've built for my clients over the years, there's always been not a small annoyance, but like a major obstacle, like
Yeah.
structurally how the curriculum is organized, mixing up live elements with pre-canned elements. I'm also looking at our original vision for Inbox Tech was not training. It was actually a web show. But I still want to explore that using OBS and Restream to dash and get it streaming out to YouTube and Facebook and all the other. I don't think it'll ever be on Twitch. I don't think it's gaming enough for that.
So you also say you started a Facebook page and a Facebook group and a LinkedIn group. Did you start those a little while ago? And how's that?
We just started it. As I said, I've been in hired gun mode. I've put in hundreds of, probably I got over 100 projects for learning management systems, workshops, coaches. And so I'm trying to take everything we've learned and put it all into one. One thing I have not figured out yet is that roughly half of our audience are of the LinkedIn flavor and the other half are all about Facebook, and is managing between the two groups.
Well, they've got very different cultures, haven't they?
Yeah. So I like the LinkedIn ecosystem better. Like when people are on LinkedIn, they tend to have more business focused conversations, and it's a little less tangents in the conversational threads. But Facebook, it's you can't ignore them. It's like Google. You can't ignore Google. You can't ignore Facebook.
So building the course out for yourself, has it been? Have you learned some things actually trying to build this yourself rather than being advising clients as a hired gun, as you said?
Yeah, I would have to say I mentioned earlier in the conversation about duration, like how long videos, how long training sessions, how long workshops should be, if they're in person, if they're virtual. And I like to go deep dive into topics when I'm coaching. That's where, where most of my direct experiences is in the one-on-one coaching, sometimes small group workshops. But I'm finding that carving it up into more digestible pieces is important. So we're looking right now at how we could build them more modularly. So if we're going to do a hour-long course, where are those pauses going to be? Where can we actually slip in the edits? We break it apart and do intros and outros and bumpers differently so we could recycle and upcycle the content later. So that's, from a production standpoint, that's been the big hill we're climbing now.
Oh. So you got a question, Kim?
I was just going through the same kind of thing very recently. In my experience, after a lot of automated courses, when you're doing the automated portion, the more you can break it down, the better. Mm-hmm. Just because if someone's logging in and you're not live there with them, they don't tend to want to watch a 20, 30-minute video.
No.
So if you can plan ahead. One thing we have done as a workaround, and in fact, I was on a call this morning doing it, if you've got a longer piece of content that you really do want to have out there, is to break it into sections of timestamps. Because there's still breaks, right? Here you were talking about this break. There's still a logical flow to it. And so if you can have timestamps with little notes and highlights, people still have something to refer back to quickly. Yep. And that can help you if you ever end up with a larger piece of content.
I like that.
Okay.
Timestamp approach.
I think we're going to wrap it up for this audio part of the of the show, folks. Basically, how can people get hold of you? And also, you got a little special offer for the audience as well, which are going to be in the show notes.
Yeah, so the best way to get a hold of me is nate@inboxattack.com. So nate@inboxattack.com. I actually do check my own email. I'm a believer in Inbox Zero, and I've been doing a lot of PR work lately, so I'm kind of regretting getting my email address out everywhere. I've got a good team of guys that I work with. They all have different flavors of email marketing expertise, and they're just somehow they've managed to put up with me for years. I don't know how. And as I said, Inbox Attack is launching, a week from Friday. Actually, no pressure. I'm not freaking out at all.
No pressure at all. Actually,
but I'll be providing a discount code, so to rock a 4-week trial of it. No credit card needed. So of Inbox Attack, just to get in some reps with writing. It's just about getting, so you bring the material, and it's just like Fight Club. If it's your first time here, you're gonna write. So we're all gonna be hopping into Google Docs together, and everyone's gonna get their hands dirty in a digital sense. A lot of people don't like that, and that's fine.
All right.
So for the 2 people listening that do like that, we'll hook you up. So
no, that's great, and that will be in the show notes, folks. The generous offer that Nat and his team have made. Kim, how can people find out more about you?
First, thank you for that, Nate. And unlike Fight Club, we are allowed to talk about Inbox Attack, right?
Yes.
Yes. I'm Kim Shivler. You can find me and everything I do at kimshivler.com.
And if you want to find more about WP-Tonic, go to the website. There'll be a full set of show notes with all the links to that relevant to our discussion. We're going to continue the discussion after we wrap up this podcast, which you'll also be able to watch on the WP-Tonic website as bonus content, where we're going to be discussing form plugins and some of the experience Net has had with those, good, bad, or indifferent. So that should be an interesting continuance of the discussion. Like I say, if you want to support the show, please go and give Kinsta, our major sponsor, a Twitter, or use our affiliate links and buy their great hosting packaging. And if you're really generous, leave us a review on iTunes. I always read them. If I find them amusing, my perverted English humor, I even read them out on the show. And also remember to join us on our Friday roundtable, hard-hitting WordPress commentary. We hold no punches on the WP-Tonic roundtable show. It's rather controversial, got me into a bit of trouble, but I just love it. And that's on every Friday at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. You can watch it live on the WP-Tonic Facebook page, and we have a great panel of WordPress experts, and like I say, we don't hold anything back. We'll see you next week, folks, with somebody doing something interesting with WordPress. See you next week, folks. Bye. Right, forms. So what's been your experience with forms then, and WordPress plugins?
It's Gravity Forms is my go-to now, and I don't know how I survived without it for so long. Specifically for MailChimps, and I'm going to be shot for saying this because we're actually like a high-level partner with MailChimp in their expert directory, and they just flew out my business partner to Atlanta to talk to them about how they can improve their platform. So we're high up in that food chain. We actually have a phone number of someone we could call at MailChimp too, which they tell us never to call. But their embedded forms are awful. They're really bad. So you have to use a plugin. So for static forms, Gravity Forms all the way. As far as best practice goes on that, I always encourage people to use use a hidden form field for opt-in source. So regardless of what form you're building, hidden form field for opt-in source specifically. So when you're going through your subscribers, regardless of what platform you're on, you know where they came from. Was it the footer form? Was it the hello bar up top? Was it the sidebar? What page they're on? And Gravity Forms has those great features to pull in the page it's embedded on. You could even add stuff in there if you want. Put in regular text. It could be dynamic. But ultimately, passively collecting that information now is going to make your life so much easier in the long run. So.
Oh, that's great. Any other experiences of other plugins and pop-ups and?
Yeah, Used to be a huge fan of Sumo. They claim that it doesn't affect load time, but GT metrics says otherwise. They keep on bumping up their pricing, and they're pricing themselves out of a lot of my clients' like comfort range and budget. I think it's worth it. I've got multiple accounts, but they've made it. They don't really do discounts ever, and AppSumo sometimes will do one, but for ease of use and for A/B testing, even if you only have it for a couple of months, it is really, really handy. We've used a few other plugin-based solutions in WordPress that are pretty good.
What's your experience with OptinMonster?
OptinMonster has gotten better. The first time I used it was like 3 or 4 years ago, and there's things like its MailChimp integration wasn't great. But now that I have Zapier, at the end of the day, like anything a plugin won't do, I'll use Zapier to kind of, almost like putty to fill in gaps. So yeah, OptinMonster is quite good. There's another one a developer just turned me on to, and I cannot for the life of me remember the name of it.
The other one that I've used extensively is Themes plugins when it comes to, and if you've got any experience with their plugins?
No, actually I don't. That's what's the name of it again?
Themes. Shane is their CEO. He's been on the show. I've tried to get him back recently, but he's a busy man. But that's a plugin suite that I've used as well with clients, and OptinMonster and Gravity, like you said. Yeah. So when it comes to, because it's linked to, a lot of people, one of the things that they want to do is obviously build up their own mailing list. So have you got any kind of insights of, and I think with a lot of people, when it comes to their website and getting people to subscribe and getting their email, they have a lot of problems. So have you got any kind of insights about some of the things they should be thinking about around that?
On the human side of things, you need a better offer. That's the number one issue, is the offers are too weak. It's not worth it. Hey, it's like, give me your email address and I'll send you a newsletter. It's like, that's not a good offer. Now, if you craft the offer and don't say newsletter and say what they're getting, like if we're going to give you access to, private discount codes directly from vendors, that's a better offer. It doesn't have to be a discount. I go back and forth on using a discount code as an offer. It works really well with e-commerce, but getting your clients trained, your future customers trained to wait for a discount before they spend money is dangerous. On the technical side, make sure you have most good form plugins will have an anti-spam honeypot feature, just so you don't. I've had issues in the past of getting a sign-up form just attacked by bots, and then you push it out, and next thing you know, your email service provider is shutting you down. It sucks. It's not fun.
No, I think that is very good insight. So you would say number one problem is the offer isn't good enough, basically.
Yeah. So when we work with people on writing offers, there's a few tricks of the trade. One of them is use of numbers. Actually having numbers visually on there is really important. Like if it's 3, you don't do THREE. Actually, you put the number 3. It's a human psychology thing. I don't even know why, but it does help. Creating contrast. So you want to make the positive more positive and the negative more negative. So you see pop-up forms that say, hey, get this offer, or kind of leave me alone. And you'll see people have fun with that. With the leave me alone, it's like, and break up with me forever. Or if you don't like free things, then click here. Oh, you want to pay full price? Oh, really? Really? And then with your offer, you need to bump it up a bit. And it doesn't have to be cash value. It doesn't have to be cash value. Sometimes it's just a phrasing game. As I said, getting access to good offers on other products that aren't even your own is sometimes an easy one, because oftentimes I'll email, like I used a tool called Glock Apps for testing to figure out what goes in the Gmail promotions tab. It's a really cool tool. GLOCKAPPS, Glock Apps. And I was teaching a workshop and mentioned it, so I just emailed, I was like, hey, could you hook me up with an awesome discount code? I'm including your stuff in a webinar I'm doing. Oh yeah, no problem. And it was way better than anything else online available. And it took one email to get that. So in different people's industries and ecosystems, there's always a way to get someone else to give them something for free. It doesn't have to come out of your pocket.
No, that's so true. I think also, got any comment you like to pass, because there's a statistic in general usage that 70% of people that go to your website will never return. And do you, like all generalistic terms that are bantered around the internet, I think it's a general statement, but you got to look at the specifics, because is that really more about how you're getting people to that website, i.e. not using the right search terms or not showing up for the right search terms? So when they hit the site, there's people that are not interested in your service or product, and that's why they never come back. Is there more detail in this than this general term that 70% of people won't come back to your website?
That's a tough one. We've got people on our team that do Facebook ads, and there's a lot of ways you could filter out people you don't want coming to your site. So that's easy. On a paid ad front, it's simple to do that. Yeah. On the organic side, you don't have as much choice. And one of the phrases, I learned it from a book called Anything You Want by Derek Sivers. Fantastic book. It's like required reading for anyone that works in my company. He's the founder of CD Baby, and one of the phrases he uses a lot is confident exclusion. Confident exclusion. So instead of trying to be everything to everyone, when they hit the front door, they need to know right away, I belong here. Or like, no, I don't belong here. So you need to be willing to get that, creating that contrast that I'm talking about, being willing to use strong enough language, strong enough visuals. I've even on websites done a side-by-side, like if this is you, come on in. If this is you, move along. Sorry, go here instead. And it doesn't have to be mean or snarky, but I've closed deals, big deals, just by saying, no, this is not going to work for you. And sometimes people come back, I was like, oh, thank you for being honest with me. Thank you for not wasting my time. And oftentimes they might end up on one of our other brands spending money in some other way. So confident exclusion will help with that. But yeah, the organic search space, trying to filter that stuff out. I've seen a lot of tools for that. There's ways to filter out with tracking pixels and things like that, but I'm not very good at it.
I agree with you. You got a question, Kim? So
No, I think I'm done with questions, although right. I'm going to go read that book because I'm a fan of Derek Sivers, and I haven't read that. He had my very favorite quote ever on a Tim Ferriss podcast, which was about the internet, and it was, if all we're missing is information, we'd all have washboard abs and be billionaires. Because the information's out there, right?
Yep.
Right, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Nate. Just to wrap up this bonus content, just quickly, what's the best way for people to get hold of you?
Nate at inboxattack.com.
That's great, Nate. And like I say, join us next week where we'll be discussing with somebody doing something interesting with WordPress. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.
All right, cheers.